The ideal framework for liberating the individual human heart to bring about the highest possible good in every realm of culture is within the context of a loving family. For this reason, we invite you to join us in our living room, our family room, to experience the Spirit of Truth as originally intended. Physical and digital copies of the Reorient book, as well as individual chapters of the book, can be obtained at thereorientbook.com. Please allow the next few moments to add to your joy, and welcome home, friends. Rise up, the world needs you.
One of my favorite teachers is a guy named Dr. Deming. He's known as the quality guru. He's dead now, but he was really a mathematician who applied mathematics to change, quality, improvement. Anybody know who Dr. Deming is? And so to bring about change, which is what we're after, right? He had this equation. It's called the change equation. I want you to write this one down. Use it in your everyday lives. I like to organize my life around what I consider profound truths. Truths that are always true in every situation. This is one. He said change is A times B times C, all of which has to be less than the cost or there's no change. A in this equation is dissatisfaction with the current. In other words, if you're not currently dissatisfied with your current situation, you have no motivation to change anything. Right? Number 2, or B, is a vision of what's actually possible. Even though you're disgruntled and you're dissatisfied, unless someone paints a vision of what's actually possible, you're just stuck, dissatisfied, and disgruntled. And so I am not a fan of people pointing out judgmentally where other people are missing it with no vision of what's actually possible. That has to be there, number 2. C is clear steps on actually how to bring about that possibility. So I think about this in every precept we're going to talk about. What's currently wrong with the situation, the system? Number 2, let's talk about the highest possible good we could think or imagine. What's a vision of what's actually possible? Now, are there some clear steps you can take right now to produce that? Is that fair? All of which has to be less than the cost of doing it, or people won't change. Make sense? So this is going to be the same for your children, for your spouse, for your business, in every realm of life. This started for me in a dream. I was in a library that seemed infinite. It looked a little like this. Okay? Now, throughout this course of these courses, I'm going to share with you 3 different kinds of impressions, or 4. Some is just an impression or a leading. All I mean is I feel a prompting or a leading to consider something. Often, I'll say phrases like, I felt the Holy Spirit say. Does that mean I heard an audible voice? No, sometimes it's just inside me. Okay? Sometimes it has been an audible voice, but that's an exception, not the everyday rule. Okay? So I'm trying to be careful about that. I also will share things that I learned in a dream. Okay? Should you believe everything you dream about? No. But some dreams, in the last age it says, there will be increase in dreams and visions. So some things are a vision. Some things are a dream. But you should always check it when you wake up to go, is this biblical? Is it real? I share it with other people. I vet it over time. And then I can put trust and faith and confidence in it after I've tested it. So I don't go make major decisions from a dream. So I don't expect you, when I say I had a dream or I had a vision, to believe any of it. That's my experience. However, all I'm asking you to do is judge the fruit of it. And if that lines up and it's real, then make it your own. Okay? So in this dream, I was standing in this library. As far as I could see, there were books on one side, music on the other, and art adorning every wall. It's like infinite. It was like the Library of Congress with no end. And Jesus walked up beside me in the dream. And he said, "What do you think?" Like, this is amazing. Is this every book and every song and every piece of art that's ever been created? He said, "No, Kevin, these are the ones that have yet to be." Would you like one? I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Look over there." And in the center of this room was 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper stacked almost shoulder high. And he said, "That's every book and every song I've apportioned grace for you to publish. But there's no guarantee that you will, because that part is totally up to who? To you. And I'm going to love you the same either way, but this is yours. It's part of your inheritance." And I said, "Me? Why?" First of all, I'm a guy who had a learning disability around words. Okay? And number two, I'm not a musician. You're going to write songs and you're going to write books. So anyway, he said, "Would you like one?" I said, "Sure." So I took the first page off and it said reorient. And he said, "Kevin, I want you to reorient the world to the original definition of these 10 words. And he told me what they meant, which literally offended my intellect. It was totally different than what I grew up thinking in a predominantly Catholicized environment. They had been defined a certain way. And so he says, told me all about reorient. I laid it out. Even the cover, the color, everything, I did not create that. It's what I saw in the dream, and all I did was wake up and connect the dots and search the matter out. So the stack was high, so he said, "Take another. Revive, rethink, react, reform, reclaim, restore." And he said, "I think that's enough for now." That's about 10 years worth of work. Okay? So I've had to rethink that for many years. Why? Because I know exactly every day what I'm supposed to do. So I woke up at 4 a.m. I wrestled Michelle, and I said, "Baby, you aren't going to believe this. I had the most vivid dream." I tell her all about it, and she goes, "I get a witness. This is real." And so I literally got on my computer and started researching a few of these words, only to discover they were right. Now, this is how you know, right? It was totally different than what I thought, but after searching the matter out on my own, discovered it was actually true. And so, what's the verse? It's the glory of kings to search a matter out. And so, I don't know why God does it this way. I just think he enjoys the companionship, right? I get it a little bit because one of my greatest joys is seeing the look on your face when you see a truth. And what? The proverbial light bulb goes, bang. That just feels good. And I think for him, he desires to share the most intimate things of his heart. He's just looking for a sympathetic companion to do it with. So because we knew it was going to be a journey, I sold my business at the time, allocated 12 months to write this book. At the end of 12 months, I was on chapter 4 and struggling. That was the church chapter. Sin chapter took 4 months to research. That was a tough chapter to write, okay? Because I knew it was going to challenge a lot of established traditions. And in some way, you're writing to a generation that you hope will get it. But in another way, I have to make sure I write enough that every critic who's going to lambast it doesn't have grounds. And at the end of that year, we decided there's no way, given my current amount of production, this is going to get done anytime soon. And so at the end of the day, Michelle could bear witness, it took 3 years, 6 days a week to research and do that one. I'm hoping the others go a little quicker. But anyway, that was it. And the end of it, when it was finally on my desk as a finished work 3 years later in this form, Michelle had felt like she would say all the time, I gave birth to a fourth child. And so we were excited, it's like, wow, no publisher. And so the reward that you get for doing this is a warehouse full of books. That's pretty much it. There's no fanfare. There's nobody who cares to attend. There's no one who even knows about it. And I have no method to distribute it. So we went out to have Chinese dinner, and Michelle and the kids and I celebrated the accomplishment. Okay, so 3 years later, and this part relates to you. 3 years later, we finish that dinner, I go to bed that night, and I have another dream. Hadn't had that in 3 years, and I'm standing back in this library. And Jesus walks up to me, and I'm like, wow, I'm back here. This is amazing. And he goes, yeah, you like this? I said, yeah. And he goes, I said, it's Reorient Room. He goes, why do you call it that? And I said, well, because it's where I receive reorient. He goes, well, I don't call it that. But that's fine if you want to refer to it that way. And he says, but I want to show you something I didn't show you before. But before I do, look at me. Consider me. And he looked at me and he paused and he simply said this, thank you. Thank you. And regardless of a billion critics to the contrary, it will never override that moment. The court of public opinion for you should never override heaven's opinion of you. And so regardless of what anyone else thinks, I know he was thankful. And so he said, thank you. And he said, now would you like to receive your reward? I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, see all those books? See all that music? See all that art? I said, yeah. That's what has yet to be created. He goes, yeah, but there's something more. I said, what? He goes, that's what other people are going to create because they're being inspired by what you produced. That is going to be your gift. This is what you are going to produce because of the time it took to produce this. And isn't it interesting? There's actually 10 words, though 9 of them are highlighted here, because I joined Save. One of the 10th word was actually faith, but I combined them in one chapter called Saved. And the reason being is that they were almost inseparable scripturally. And so these were the words, the 10 words. And what's amazing is these 10 words turned out to be the most commonly used words in the religious realm. And so when you begin to challenge these definitions, you begin to challenge the very systems of our faith. Okay? And so it was so strategic, but I had no idea about that. Even the order of the words is a journey. I didn't put them in that. I take no credit for any of that. It was just a dream. And so it was just my job to search it out and actually write it. Okay?